Well, statues of Queen Victoria and our current reigning Queen Elizabeth II have been vandalised, pulled down by protesters in Winnipeg, central Canada, on the country's annual day that marks Confederation. Now, the demonstrations were acted on in response to the country's residential school system, which saw Indigenous children attend state-run Christian schools where many experienced significant horrors, allegedly unknown to the wider public until now. They were also prevented from speaking their own languages in a bid to assimilate them into Canadian society. Now, most of this occurred not just last century, but the century before. In the West, we have democratic freedoms, freedoms of protest, but you don't tolerate vigilantism in the name of cancel culture. Those who like to put the blame on current generations for historic crimes, they're motivated by self-righteousness, and they have little respect for our history books and the people who dominated history. You can't erase this stuff. Let's cross now to the Director of Western Civilisation at the Institute of Public Affairs, Dr. Bella D'Abrera. Bella, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Bella, the fury over this centuries-old abuse has really peaked in recent days, hasn't it?
Well, yes, it has peaked in recent days, but it's part of a broader political movement called Decolonisation, which we saw playing out on the streets of the US, of the UK, and in Australia last year that sort of really picked up quite a lot of energy after as a result of the Black Lives Matter movement. This movement, this decolonisation movement, has come out of our universities. It's born from post-modernism. It basically says that all the institutions of Western civilization, so rule of law, which we really need at the moment to prevent this kind of vandalism happening, equality before the law, individual rights. Decolonization says that these were all created to oppress minorities, or in academic speak, the other, and that they're racist. So the aim of this movement, pulling down statues, burning churches, graffitiing statues, is to eventually destroy these institutions of Western civilization. So that's what we're seeing playing out on the streets of Canada at the moment, and of course in Australia as well.
And you've got Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth II. Well, I doubt very much, and we don't have evidence of this, that either of them knew of the damage that was being done to some of these children in institutions.
Well, no, they wouldn't have, and of course, Queen Elizabeth was born a lot later.
Yeah.
But the point is, the controversy in Canada seems to be aimed at the Catholic Church. The opponents of the Catholic Church are saying that it was the Church that actually abused these children, and there are mass graves, but so there was no sense at all in pulling down these statues, which is what we saw last year in America. They pulled down statues of anyone who was basically a white male, and now obviously white males. So the movement has no logic to it. It's just pure hatred. It's pure anarchy. It's a rolling revolution that has sort of no discernible end, and it's actually making its way into our museums and our art galleries by wanting to get rid of anything that is remotely Western, so classical music and Shakespeare and manuscripts and anything like that. So it's really quite a nihilistic movement, and we have to make sure it doesn't go down as far down the road in Australia as it has gone in the UK and the US.
I saw one report from Canada that said that, these protesters were purely angry family members who'd either lost children generations before, or they knew of survivors and were very upset with the church, so therefore they burned the church down. They can't be all families of survivors, Bella.
No, they can't. They're just caught up in this movement. I think people like an excuse to go into the streets and be anarchic. It seems to be something that we've seen in the side of human nature that's come out in the last couple of years, especially. And blaming people for blaming current inhabitants of the world for the sins of our fathers and the sins of our forebears just makes no sense. This movement does nothing. It says that it's trying to achieve some kind of social justice and right the wrongs of the past, but of course, blaming inanimate objects like statues or blaming people who are going to church on a Sunday and burning down churches does nothing. It just creates civil discord, and it really destroys the fabric of society.
Since these revelations, we've had Prime Minister Trudeau offer an apology? He's also come up with some kind of compensation packages for the families involved. I know the Pope wants to meet with families of survivors at the end of this year. That's not enough, is it? But having said that, at least the various institutions involved are doing what they can to say sorry for what other people did. Like, you can't blame those same individuals that run these institutions today, surely.
No, I mean, we have nothing. We can't bear the sins of our forebears, or you know, if there were crimes committed against people, it's not. We have nothing to do with it. But again, if you know, they talk about mass graves of children, but this is something that needs to be looked at with evidence in the courts of law, through using the legal institutions that we have. But burning down churches and pulling statues off their pedestals with ropes will not achieve that at all. It's the wrong way of going about it.
Let's hope it doesn't come to our continent. I know some of the inflammation has, but not necessarily the statue or the church burning and the statue destruction. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Bella de Brera, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much, Chris.